So for those of you who may not know me, my name is Savannah Sanchez. My business is The Social Savannah. I work with over 40 brands each week to produce hundreds of ads for them. I've worked with hundreds of ads, worked with hundreds of brands in the last few years alone, including some big names like Bumble, Noom, Poshmark, Dr. Squatch, Fabletics, just to name a few. The way that I work is I have a small team of creators. I have about 40 creators on my team and 10 editors. And each week we're shooting brand new concepts for my clients. And the number one thing that I get requests from my clients is we want to try out of the box ideas. I hear that all the time. People are like, we want to stop the scroll. We don't want it to look like AI. We don't want it to be a basic UGC ad. They say, Savannah, go out of the box. So I have been doing a lot of out of the box ideas this year, I would say more than any other year. So I've done the hard work for you. I've come up with a lot of different ad ideas. I've tested them across a lot of different clients. And today I'm going to present to you the winners. So these are the out of the box ad ideas and hooks that are winning and that I'm going to keep recreating for new clients over summer of 2025. And I highly encourage you to do the same. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So one thing that we love doing at the Social Savannah is working with Post-it notes. So as you can see at the beginning of this ad, we say, what are you doing this summer? And then we overlay the product and the UGC creators behind the Post-it note for an instant thumb-stopping hook. So I think keeping it seasonal to summer is also a really great strategy. Because this is a summer presentation, and we notice that if we call out summer in our ads, it just is a bit more relevant to people right now. So what are you doing this summer? Post-it note, definitely one to test, proven hook. This one is really fun. This one is the rock, paper, scissors. So I'm going to go back to the hook and pause it so you can see. We're doing a rock, paper, scissors between two creators. One of the people is representing save money and the other one is representing buy luggage. So they're rock, paper, scissoring to see, hey, are we going to save money? We're going to buy this luggage. And what do you know? Buying new luggage, one out. And then we do a UGC mashup with a lot of different creators so that people can see many different personas with the product. So would highly encourage testing the rock, paper, scissors concept. Similarly, I have also launched a new concept that is called heads or tails. Heads, save money, tails, buy new luggage. And it lands on tails, you're going to be buying new luggage. So these are the type of split tests that are really important to run in your ad account. I am all about creating iterations and doing small tweaks in the hook to see drastically different performance. You'd be surprised. When I test heads or tails versus rock, paper, scissors across different clients, I see drastically different results. It's not that one concept is better than another, but we do see different performance for different hooks. So whenever you're coming up with a concept, try to think, what is a hook alternate that I can easily shoot, but keep the rest of the ad the same? I'm not about wasting time and doing more than you have to. So if you can keep the rest of the ad the same, that's best case scenario. Just changing the first 3 seconds of doing rock, paper, scissors versus heads or tails. This next one is a very eye-catching hook and one that my client was very happy with. Essentially, have a creator wear sunglasses and then put the text that you want people to see on her laptop and zoom in on the reflection of the text in her sunglasses. Trust me, this will get people to stop. I'll play the ad through so you can see. Blow up on IG, say hello to Path Social, and we're introducing a growth service for Instagram followers is what this is. So just doing something like this, very simple in the beginning, it will make a huge difference. I can tell you, starting the ad with a hook like this, something eye-catching and interesting, versus just starting with a creator doing a green screen over the website, you will see a drastically different performance. And you'll see that the one that with the more eye-catching hook is going to be the one that gets the most conversions. So I'm always trying to think of what is some weird and interesting way we can get text on the screen without just having a boring text graphic overlay. This one is great. They say you should chase what you love. So we have our creator chasing after a cup of coffee. And so you can do this for any product. You can be holding your product in front of the camera and the creator is chasing it. It's overly dramatic, it's cheesy, but it gets people to stop. And that is really the whole goal here is what can we do that's slightly out of the box, slightly eye-catching to get people to stop. But you'll notice the body of the ad remains highly the same. Like it's just different creators talking about the value props, going through different product photos, using the product. The focus should always be how can I optimize the first few seconds to be as entertaining as possible and different from the rest of the feed. You don't need to spend your brain power on the last essentially 33 seconds of this 30 the last 33 seconds of this 36-second ad is not nearly as important as how it starts. So having the creator chase is a perfect way to capture attention in that first few seconds. Next, we have pay attention to the message in the clouds. So I love this one because it just gets people thinking they're a little bit differently. And it gets people waiting for that extra few seconds to see, hey, what is this ad actually about? And then you can have a post-it note holding up what is that message in the clouds. So this is one that I would definitely recommend testing. I'll go back to the beginning so you can watch that hook one more time. So she's pointing up and saying, pay attention to the message in the clouds. You look up and then you have the post-it note or a small piece of paper like we did here, and then you're writing the text out. Use a payment plan for that flight. And then you'll also see that we like to use things that are more visually demonstrative. Like instead of just having a girl talking to the camera, explaining that you can pay for your flight all in one go and showing a bunch of rice versus having payment plans and spreading the rice over the different weeks. So you always want to think, how can I visually tell the story versus just someone talking to the camera and explaining it, which is really boring. So using a visual representation like rice is a very helpful tool. And then you can also see when I went over this one, it says how, writing it on a piece of paper, visually taking the video of someone writing down the text that you want to have is going to capture attention versus just like your regular text overlay. So little tips to keep attention. This one's really funny. People always ask me, Sarah, how do you fix a broken cabinet? Well, I don't know. And my name's not Sarah, but good protein is the tastiest way to get your protein in the day. So this is a classic take off of an Instagram, TikTok trend that's going viral right now. And you can definitely implement this in your ad strategy. I always try to think about if there are TikTok trends that can be relevant to ads. You don't want to make your ads too trend focused because TikTok trends go in and out of style so quickly, but something like this, I would call it more of like an evergreen trend. So I would recommend testing the script of people always ask me, how do you fix cabinet? I don't know. My name's not Sarah, but what I do know is X, Y, and Z. We find it has a very good watch rate in the clients that I've tested it with. Next, we have a photo collage at the beginning of the ad. So when you are doing video ads, it doesn't always have to be video for the whole time. I am a big believer in mixing formats. So mixing photos in with your video ads can be a great way to stop the scroll. So I'll go back to the beginning so you can watch that one more time. We have a photo collage of the creator and her bag, and then we go into the video. So this is a very simple and easy hook that you can test for your product. This one, what we're doing is we are zooming in on the text on a piece of paper for our hook. So we're doing the little pinch zoom in, you're wasting your time. And then you'll see the next frame. You see how it starts blurry here and then it gets into focus. That is a trick of the brain so that people wait to see what the text is when it comes out of focus. Humans are very curious, and even something as just having it blurred for a second before revealing what the text is, people will stick around to see what is that text. It's just very interesting how the brain works. And those are ways that you can capture attention and stop the scroll. This is also a great format if you have a service-based business, one where you don't have a product. You always have to get extra creative when you don't have a physical product to show off, like doing ads for beauty or skincare, health. it's often a lot easier. But when you're advertising a website or an app or a service, that's when it's even more important to do something eye-catching in the first few seconds because you don't have a beautiful product to show off or a demonstration to do. So doing things like this, like having text written out on paper or the text holding it up in terms of like, look at the message in the clouds, things like that is what is really working for these type of businesses. Next, we have a voice note. So in the hook, the creator is pretending to receive a text saying, "Oh, where are those shoes that you wore today?" And then she records a voice note that she is sending back to her friend saying, "Oh, I actually got them from Reno's." And then blah, blah, blah. You go into your typical UGC ad showing the product in use. But having that voice note text message at the beginning of the ad is really eye-catching. And you can have the fake iMessage over the screen. And then you can see at the end, we kind of circled back to the fake iMessage where we have her bestie. Here's the link to purchase. So just keeping it really native. People, when they are shopping, they are often asking their friends for advice. Hey, what were you wearing? Oh, let me text you the link. So this is how girls are naturally shopping and getting ideas from their friends. And so recreating that in an ad is a very powerful strategy. Next, we have the multi-screen self skit. So this one is really fun. Essentially, you record yourself 3 times. So you can have yourself on one of the monitors, and then you have yourself replying on a laptop, and then you have yourself replying in real life. So you're basically having a conversation with yourself across 3 different screens. Again, this goes back to when you don't have a physical product, you do have to be a lot more interesting and creative in your hook. But this could absolutely work for a physical product. We've done this for makeup clients and other clients where the girls are talking on the monitors side by side about the product. We even did it where she is handing over the product from one monitor, like she's holding it and then she's holding up the product, and then the girl on this monitor is grabbing it. So you can get very creative with this, and it's something I haven't seen a lot of brands do, but something that I've been testing and my clients are loving. So would absolutely recommend this. Next, we have the Megaphone Announcement. So in terms of props that you can buy on Amazon, a megaphone and I would say a whiteboard are the 2 props that I use the most. And you could just come up with so many different creative concepts around using a megaphone. It's great for announcing a sale or a new product launch. For this one in particular, we are announcing that the product is actually going up in price. So doing a bit of an urgency play that you need to buy it now before the price goes up. So if you're doing a quick PSA or like, oh, guess what? The sale is happening. You will find lots of ways to use a microphone. So a megaphone. So I would definitely recommend getting one of those on Amazon along with the whiteboard. That is my other most used Amazon purchase for ad creatives. Next, we have the TikTok comment skeptic. So this is a classic format, having the TikTok comment overlay in that first second, but we're taking it a little extra step further. We're having the comment be negative. We're saying, those seem so extra. And then in the script, we're kind of talking back. We're saying, well, then you can stick to your boring, uncomfortable earplugs then. But if you want to have something cute, stylish, and functional, then you want to check out loop earplugs. So never be afraid to include some negativity in your ad. As humans, we are more attracted to negative things versus positive things. That's why news and clickbait is always so negative. So you can kind of take advantage of that psychology. People aren't expecting an ad where the first thing they see is a negative comment. Those seem so extra. And then you can rebuttal it in the following scenes and in the voiceover. We talk about why it's so great. So testing negativity in that TikTok comment overlay, or skeptic, as I call it here, is a great strategy. I also want to go through some filming techniques that will help your ad performance. So we always try to test some different angles in terms of where we film the creators. And we're seeing a really positive response on our ads when the creator is laying on the floor and we actually have the camera tilted slightly so she's at an angle. And it's just that little extra eye-catching bit. People aren't expecting it. And she has her little mini microphone that she's talking into. So it's almost as if she's giving a little speech from the floor. And then we have the product right above her. So even visually, it kind of looks like, oh, is that product like floating above her? Oh no, she's just on the floor. Why is she on the floor? Just makes people stop and think for that extra second. And then you go into the rest of your ad. One thing I also wanted to point out is that using text animations and different colors in your fonts is a great way to capture attention. You'll see that on most of my ads. We kind of mix and match with the colors and the animations of the text. You can see here, we have a different font, and then it goes word by word on the screen so that people have to wait to see what we're going to say. And that most of our ads are around 30 seconds long, and we are changing the scene every second. So you got to keep that attention going. People are scrolling on TikTok. They don't have the attention span to look at one frame longer than a couple seconds. I would say the exception to that is when a creator is talking to the camera. That's when we will leave the scene on for an extra second. But any B-roll type scenes where we're just filming the product or showing it in use, that's usually 1 second cuts before we move on to the next. Another great way to show text in the first 3 seconds is having the text appear on the phone. And then you can have the product around the phone just to emphasize the branding and show the product. So you can see we had the text almost like magically zap onto the phone. It started with just a blue screen. We have the Rare Bird cans around it. What if you can drink cold brew and not feel like crap? And then she goes through all the reasons why she loves the Rare Bird cold brew cans. So finding interesting ways to get text on the screen in a non-conventional way, you'll see that as a common theme across many of these ads. Because that's what it really comes down to at the end of the day, is how can we capture attention and not make it look like a normal ad? We're all here for those out-of-the-box ideas anyway. So let's move on to the next one. This is a really great skit you can do. It is called, I Can't Believe How Good That Tip You Gave Me Was. So how we do this is we actually had her husband filming behind the camera, walking up to her and saying, oh, I can't believe how good that tip you gave me was. And she says, oh, was it really that good? Yeah, tell them about it. And then she says, okay, if you hate doing this with your liquid detergent and you want to try this, then go to drops. But it looks very organic in the first scene. It's almost as if like her husband is sneaking up on her to ask her a question. She's folding laundry. The camera's shaking a little bit. It definitely doesn't feel like an ad. It feels more like someone just coming into the room with their camera and filming their wife doing laundry. It's very casual, and he's talking to her behind the camera. So a very good hook, and you could test many different variations of the same type of concept. This one was funny to shoot. We essentially had our creator go on the street, and we filmed her out the window so that we can do this hook. I saw this girl with the cutest suitcase out my window today, and I had to know where it was from. And then we did this fake text message exchange, almost as if she went downstairs to go ask that girl, hey, where was that suitcase from? And she's like, oh, I'll text you the link. And she texts you some photos and says, oh, it's all from Noble. And you can even see, we even did like the native iMessage hearts on the message. So I'll play this again from the start so you can see it. But it's kind of like that creepy looking out the window, stalking someone, a toned down version of that. But it captures people's attention because they're like, oh, why are they creeping on this person outside the window? She's had the cutest suitcase and I had to know where it was from. And then we have the text message exchange. And then we go into our normal UGC sequence of unboxing, emphasizing features, and then having our call to action at the end. So all follows a very similar formula at the end. It's just about what can we test in the beginning that's going to be a little bit different. And then I'll show you the end of the ad too. Get it for 46% off at noble.com. And then we also like to test little eye tricks with the text. So having the suitcase go over the website at the end is going to be a lot more impactful than just having the website show as normal text over the end. So thinking about ways you can get creative with text, essentially. I should probably pause here to say, I am sending the deck out to my newsletter subscribers. So you can sign up on my website. Last time that I did this presentation, you guys crashed my website. So if my website isn't working or the newsletter link isn't working, I would say just check back after this presentation, maybe later tonight or tomorrow. Go to my website. You can sign up at the bottom. I'm going to send out all the examples and the deck in the next couple of days. So if it's not working now, you could try it soon. I just wanted to say that just in case you guys are trying and you guys crashed my website. That's how awesome you guys are. Rushing my website, but servers can't handle it, I guess. So this one's really fun. I'm always trying to think of fun props we can use to demonstrate the product. So for this one, we cut out eyes, we put it on a tomato to apply the concealer. We have also used Barbies a lot. That's a fun prop to use, especially for makeup and hair products. But you bet this absolutely stops the scroll. It's not going to be applicable for all products, of course. For makeup, it's a lot more obvious. But when you could think of out of the box props to demonstrate your product in that first second, that's going to be a real winner. So yeah, maybe you could find a way to incorporate the potato like we did. I think with the cutout eyes, it really gives that extra fun element. So would highly recommend this one as well. Next, we have the text pull up. So you can see in that first second, I'll replay it for you guys. She's pulling up the text to reveal. And then another fun element that we incorporated is that we're having the phone scroll almost appear like AR in real life, where she's interacting with it like in space, essentially. So for this particular ad, we're advertising an app. So we don't have a physical product to show. It's going to be a lot of phone shots. But instead of just showing a creator holding up the phone, you can get creative with it with the hook, like having the text pull up, and then elements like showing the virtual phone, which I think is interesting and eye-catching. So you can always think of little ways to make an uninteresting product or service a little more interesting. Next, we have a skit with yourself, but the kicker on this is that it's you in both frames. So essentially, we're using the green screen effect, shooting with the creator with two different outfits and having her look up and then look down so that when we piece it together, it looks like she's having a conversation with herself. This has been an absolute smash. I repeated the same format across nearly all of my clients at this point, this self-skit conversation with both of them in frame, and have seen it be a consistent top performer. So this is one I would definitely recommend testing out. And I think it's applicable for nearly any product or service. You can come up with some sort of skit of someone talking to themselves before you go into the typical UGC ad at the end. So another great one. This one's fun. So in order to scroll through the different products, what we did is we had our creator push on the remote and then we did a stop motion of the different styles. This is especially a good one if you have a lot of SKUs and you want to showcase the different colors that you have, different options. You can just remote control click through it, and you can add that little extra engaging element by animating the emoji. That arrow is physically going every time he's pushing the remote. The little emoji is also going. So love using stop motion when I can find an opportunity to do so. It's an element that consistently works as a great hook. And then we have him jumping around and doing fun stuff, showing him on the bike, of course. And here we go. This one's really fun. We found this ad example a couple of weeks ago of someone jumping out of the phone. We tested it for ourselves, and now we're doing it for a bunch of clients because we've seen it work well. So I'll show it to you again. Essentially, it starts with our creator in a phone. She's jumping out of it, and she's like, oh, whoa, if you've been spending forever looking for deals, like you're going to want to look at this website instead. So great for a non-physical product business, service-based business, an app. Having someone jump out of the phone in the first second, definitely eye-catching. Next, we have the Whiteboard Explainer. So like I mentioned before, my top two props that I use, number one is the megaphone or microphone. We use a microphone a lot. Second would be the whiteboard. And the whiteboard is really great for explaining complex concepts that you can kind of get lost in the details if you were just watching a creator talk to the camera about credit cards. I mean, this topic is not riveting, we're talking about balance transfer credit cards. So in order to make it interesting and easy to follow along, that's when we have a whiteboard explainer video where we're visually showing the different elements and how it breaks up debt and the interest and the main points. People are going to follow along with this so much better than they would any other concept. So I would say for every client I work for, we will do some sort of whiteboard concept at some point. You can definitely incorporate physical products into a concept like this. This is just a great example of one when you don't have a physical product of how to make your ad more interesting. The next is story time. So we actually wrote in our journal a story about I was trying to grow on Instagram and then I found Path Social, and we take the highlighter to highlight Path Social, number one, because that's the company name. So it instantly stands out. And then people can kind of quickly read through no bots, no spam, the website. But really the point is just for people to see the emphasis on the brand name and then be intrigued enough to watch the rest. And then we go into our typical UGC ad. So that's a really fun one. I think at the end we end with the notebook as well. Yeah, you've got to sign up. And then she's tapping on the website with the whiteboard or with the highlighter to emphasize it. So love writing a good story time. Next, we have the man on the street interview. So this is a format that's been around for a while, but one that continually performs well. So I did want to include it. So for this one, we scripted it as, what is this girl doing? And we're walking up to her, hey, what are you doing? I'm looking for those cotton single-use towels. And then we amp it up by doing some product overlays over it of showing what her old towel looks like. And then we talk about how great the new towel is. So introducing those visual elements over a man on the street interview can be great. On here, the person behind the camera is handing her the Pure Skin towels and she's like, oh, thanks, I was looking for this. So whether you're in the store, whether you're on the street, you can really do this in so many different ways. But I did particularly like this concept we did where it looked as if she was trying to find it in the store and someone helped her find it. So a great one to test, especially if you do have a retail presence. I know a lot of my clients are in Target and Sephora, and this type of concept would work really well. The next one is the narrator concept. So I don't have sound on these, but we actually used it's called the old wizard voice in 11 Labs. 11 Labs is the AI voiceover software. It sounds as if it's like the medieval story movies, the voiceover. It's really funny. So we're saying this is Amanda. She's almost 30 years old. And she corrects the narrator behind the camera saying, I'm 29. She's on a mission to find something to wear. As you can see, again, a common theme. We're writing text down. That's definitely been a common theme in this presentation of writing things down in order to create more emphasis instead of just a regular text overlay. So she's on a mission to find something to wear. Why? Her closet is full. Nothing goes together. It's chaotic. And then we present the product as the solution for that. She downloaded this guide and now she has all of these different ideas to wear. So having a narrator is a fun style, speaking from that third person, this is Amanda. Here's her problem. Here's the solution. Kind of introduce it. It always starts introducing the creator, this is Amanda, this is Tori, this is Sarah, here's her problem, and here's how she solved it. This is a really fun and easy format to do. So essentially, you can just have a creator dance with your product and have it overlaid over an image. So this one worked really well because it was a Tomorrowland collection launch. So we just took a fun festival image and then we had the creator dance in front of the text. And for this type of concept, when it's a new collection launch, we're just trying to get people to read the text and having something really simple in the visuals, not overcomplicating it with too many videos, flipping through different scenes or someone talking. We just want the attention to go straight to the top. Did you know there's a new Loop Tomorrowland collection launch? Me. yes, I'm so happy. I'm wearing them. I'm dancing. I'm ready for Tomorrowland. So sometimes simple is better. It doesn't always have to be flipping through all these different scenes and things. You can just keep it visually interesting by doing a dance in your ad. Next, I want to share a couple transitions that I would recommend testing in your ads. I have 3 of my top ones that I wanted to share in this presentation. The first being the drop change. So she drops her phone, she picks her phone up, and she's in a different scene and she's changed into her cute packed dress. So a really great transition to stop the scroll, and especially good for clothing products when you can show your old outfit versus the new. The next transition I wanted to highlight is the reverse clip. So we dropped the product and then filmed it, and then we reversed it so that we would have an interesting hook of the product coming back into her hand. So I'll play that begin for you again. There it is. Just zooming back into her hand. So because the laws of gravity, you physically can't do that. It grabs attention because people are like, oh, hey, how'd that happen? Even though subconsciously, when they think about it for a second, they're like, oh, they just reversed the clip. But for that first time they see it, there's a bit of amazement, like, oh, wow, there it is, flying back into her hand. And then you go into the rest of your ad. The last transition I wanted to share is the magic tap. This one is probably my favorite. You can tap your product out of your phone. So it kind of emulates the experience of online shopping. You find something on your phone. If only it was as instant as tapping on your phone screen for it to get delivered. But with a little camera magic, we can make it appear as if, oh, she saw it on the website, she tapped her phone, and now the product is magically appearing. So if you are going to film a fun transition, it's always best to put that in the hook. I see some companies, they will have some fun transitions in their ads, but they'll bury it. They'll be like 10 seconds or longer. That's when they'll show the fun clip. If you're going to spend the time filming a fun transition, don't wait till the middle of the end. Always, always, always put it at the beginning, like I did for these 3 examples. Well, I hope you guys got a ton of ideas from this presentation. Thank you again for having me on here to present my top ad formats. My website is on the screen now. Like I mentioned before, my website, if you guys crashed it, go on it later to sign up for the newsletter, and I will be sending out the deck in the next couple of days. And you're always welcome to connect with me on my socials. And now, if you guys have any questions for me, I have the next 25 minutes or so to answer any questions that you have in the chat.
Thank you, Savannah. As always, the most amazing deck. I personally have bought a lot of products that Savannah advertises. So I can speak from a consumer perspective and tell you that these formats work really, really well. I see some incredible questions here, actually, that I'm really excited to ask. Let's start with this one from Emily. Do you find that short form or long form videos perform better? Is there a specific video length that tends to get the best results?
For sure. I would say 20 to 30 seconds is really the sweet spot. We've been seeing interesting data around 15-second ads working well, like for the dancing girl example, where she was dancing in front of the concert image. That one was only 15 seconds. So there are concepts that you can make short. So I would say testing both of those would be my go-to. That was my go-to lengths.
Sweet. I saw a bunch of people asking about like B2B companies, like things outside of D2C, which you've done an event with us before, actually, that was really great about like advertising for apps and services. So Amanda asked, how can you sell fun concepts like this in a very structured B2B company?
Well, I guess my first recommendation would be, once you download the deck, present it to them, be like, hey, this is what Savannah's doing for all these top brands. That she says they're working well, so worth a try. So whenever I'm talking to clients, especially ones that are a bit more structured out of the box, I always like to come with data. Like I'm like, hey, this was performing well for another client. And I have all my clients connected to Motion, which makes it incredibly easy to see what ads are working and share those reports. So that's my best strategy of how to sell a fun concept, is coming prepared with the right data. And Motion reports is really the best way to do that because they're so easy to read and visually nice. So little motion plug there. But yes, I would also recommend, I do have a deck that I presented with motion on their YouTube channel, and it was all about B2B ad examples. So I definitely included some today, but if you want even more of examples for B2B, definitely go to Motion's YouTube channel and check out the last presentation I did with them.
Yeah. We will also, I can share that in our follow-up email too, so you guys can see even more of Savannah's creative brain working on different products. I like this question also from Yulia. What tools and software do you use for editing and for sharing edits and feedback?
Yes. So my editors all use Premiere Pro for editing. I would say if I wanted something really quick, I would use CapCut, but that's not my go-to. I like to go to my professional editors and let them do their magic on Premiere, because you just have much more capabilities there. But CapCut can get you really far if you don't have an editor who is proficient in Premiere and you just want to edit something yourself. CapCut can get you very far. So don't let a scary software like Premiere, as complicated as scare you away. You can accomplish a lot with CapCut. For sharing edits and feedback, I like using Dropbox. Particularly, there's a feature in Dropbox called Dropbox Replay, and it's essentially a competitor to Frame.io, if you're familiar with that, where you can, in real time, like on timestamps, do specific edits, what you need. So you can write timestamp edits, and then you can also draw on it. So if I get an ad, I'll often like draw a circle. I'm like, oh, move this text here. So I find Replay is really helpful.
Nice. Yeah, your stuff always looks so good. And I'm just like, I know so much work goes into making things look as seamless as they do. So knowing the tools you use is really helpful.
Yes, lots of revisions. I mean, luckily, my editors have been with me for so long that they kind of know right away the look I'm going for. And I always provide lots of ad examples. I often share reports from Motion. Like, it's great. You can just select an ad on Motion and share a report. I'm like, hey, we want to copy something like this. So Motion is a big part of that workflow. I always think it's helpful to provide a visual example. If you're working with an editor and you're just like, if you just write out the script and give them the raw content, you're rarely going to get what you want. But if I can go into Motion, I can create a report of the top performing ad, I can write some notes, send it to them. That's the first step to get them working, when they can visually see, oh, this is how she likes the text, or this is the pacing of the best performing ad. So often I'll send an example from Motion of, I like this one's pacing. I like the lighting in this one. I like the clip selection here. We want to do something similar. So starting with that visual example is like the first step in getting an ad that you want.
Yeah, it's funny. This was the next question I had queued up, which is very much along these lines. And so maybe you can just dig even deeper. Kristen asked, how do you guide your team of creators to deliver the content you need? Do you typically provide individual briefs for each creator? How detailed, seemingly very detailed, are the instructions you give?
Yes, I would say this is definitely the longest part of the process and the most manual part of the process. I don't use ChatGPT to come up with scripts or brand value props. Like, I'm sitting down and I'm writing what I think is going to work, and I work with some members on my team who help me come up with the scripts. But it's all handwritten, and a lot of this research in terms of coming up with out of the box ideas, we're seeing just interesting things on our TikTok feed or on Reels, and we're like, oh, this element would be really cool for an ad. So a lot of it is just keeping an open mind, being really on top of the media that's already going viral in Reels and TikTok, and thinking, oh, this element could work really well for an ad. So that's where most inspiration comes from. And then, yeah, you just got to put in the long hours. You got to write down the top value props. You got to write down the scripts. You got to write down the shot lists. But if you don't get the result you want. You have to kind of prepare your creators as much as you can, so that when they do give you the content, they can almost checkbox like down the script and down the shot list, getting every shot you want to create the cohesive ad. If you leave it vague or just don't do it at all, as some brands do, they just say, hey, here's my product, good luck. the more you're not going to get the result you want. You have to be detailed. You have to provide visual examples, and this process can take hours. So yeah, I would say this is not the step to shortcut. This is one where you want to get really smart, creative minds spending the time to sit down, come up with the scripts, come up with the concepts, write out all the steps. It's not something that's easily automated, but it does pay off, as you can see in the results of these ads. There's a lot of hours of prep that goes into before a creator even picks up a camera.
Yeah. I want to ask this question because I've heard you give some insights on it before, and I see a few different Q&As similar to this. Kate asked, any insights for what works with an older audience on Meta, Gen Z, or older?
For sure. So I mentioned in a previous motion presentation that typically longer ads work well for the older demographic. I said that if your target demographic is 60 plus, then your ad length should be 60 seconds or more. So it correlates with the age and the time of the ad. So they don't have TikTok brain as much as the kids these days. So they can sit and watch and kind of like watch like an infomercial in a way. So you can go longer. I would say that's one thing that I've been sourcing for my creator team is I've actually brought on a lot of older creators in the last year, like ones that are over 60. Now, finding older creators that know how to use Dropbox and Trello and Slack, that is a whole challenge in itself. It has taken me years to find like my golden older creators that I have now. I'm holding on to them tight. And they're often the most requested from my clients. So like, oh, we want to work with the older lady. So there's a huge demand for it. If someone can crack the code of getting a lot of older creators and teaching them all about Dropbox, and that's like the hardest thing, that they're just not very tech savvy. So getting them to do the process is the hard part. But if you can feature older creators in your ads and you're targeting an older audience, that's really the connect. They have to be able to relate to the person in the ad. So if you're advertising for makeup over 60, you can't have some 30-something-year-old girl in the ad. They got to look the age. So finding the creators is the hard part, but that is also the key.
Yeah. And that's something you are weirdly good at, like so good at. How do you even find these creators?
It's years, man. It's years. I've been doing this since 2020, and I have a team of 40 creators. And there's been so much trial and error to get like this core 40 team. And a lot of these creators that I work with, I would say over half of them have been working with me for at least 2 years, some of them 3 years, 4 years. So they're really dialed into the system. They know exactly what I want. They know what it's like to work with me. They work with me every single week on new ads. So they're just in the system. But you best believe there was a lot of trial and error and bad creators who have filtered through in order to get like my solid team. But now I'm like, okay, I got the core team. Now I just need to pump out ads with these. That's why you notice in the presentation, a lot of the creators you'll see repeating, like you'll notice the same creator a few times in different examples, because this is my core creator team. We're working on all these ads and they understand the formats really well. Like we would have filmed a whiteboard example for one client, and now the same creator is filming a whiteboard example for another client a week later. So they understand the system. They're like, okay, I know exactly what she's looking for. I'm just doing it for a different client. So it's easy to plug and play that way.
Oh, yeah. That's great. Yeah, you've like systematized all of this. It's awesome. I'm curious. I like this one from Ola. In your experience, how does high production content perform compared to UGC or more raw native style creatives?
We're still seeing the UGC as the winner. It doesn't mean that there isn't a place for more high production value content, but people do want to see things that look native to their feed, like what they're organically seeing on TikTok and Reels. Most of that is filmed on a phone and has that more authentic testimonial look. So you have to make it match what people are already consuming on their feeds organically. So it doesn't mean that there's not a place for it. I would say a healthy ad account has everything. They have a lot of UGC, they have a lot of statics, they have a lot of high production value, they have a lot of short ads, they have a lot of long ads. But I always say if I was to give a brand advice and where you should start with the 30-second typical UGC ads like I presented today. But once you start scaling and you need to reach different demographics and different placements and platforms, that's when it's really important to build your full toolkit, which will include everything. It's not just going to include UGC.
Yeah. And sort of along that lines, let's see, I like this one from Miguel. Do you have any out-of-the-box static asset ideas? It's been seeing a rise in static asset performance. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, what I like to do is I use Foreplay for ad creative research for the most part, and on there you can filter by just statics or just videos. So I like to look at the top brands on there because they will have a list of like the brands that have the most saves. And so you can see what are the most saved ads from the top advertisers, filter by statics. That's how I like to get ideas for that. Um, there was another website. I'll have to include it in the email follow-up that had a lot of great static examples, but I can't remember the name of it. Um, but I'll include it in the email follow-up of a website that had a lot of great static examples that I've taken a lot from.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, this next question from Mariah. I saw a few people say like, these are all like sexy products though. I feel like you're just really good at making them sexy, like a credit card
Yeah.
luggage. They're not inherently sexy. But like I'd love to hear you talk more about this because people are saying like your examples all look really cool and sexy. What if my product is just not very glamorous? How do you create that even if it's not naturally sexy?
Oh man, I feel like most of the examples I provided today were ones that you didn't need a physical product for. That I like including those because I like showing like, hey, this is the hardest one to make it for, like the credit cards, Scribe, which is the one that transcribes what you're writing. We did like the pinch zoom in for that one, and the pay attention to the message in the clouds for the travel agency. So I would say definitely review the deck once I send it out, but also would highly recommend to go back to Motion's YouTube channel and check out that video that I did specifically for when you don't have a sexy product. We did a really great presentation on that. So the main key is how are you going to use text to capture attention? So looks like you print it out, you use the post-it notes. You're writing it on a piece of paper. Text is going to an interesting way to display text is going to be your best friend. And then using things like the green screen format, skits. Like I love that self skit example that I shared where the creator is in the frame where she's talking to herself. That is perfect for a brand where you don't have a product, but can still make it really interesting.
Let's go here. This next one I like from Daniel. He's curious about how we can convince, I feel like it's like convince your boss, like convince legal,
Right?
like how do you, since you've had experience doing this for so many years, like how do you sort of combat that when people are like, no, we have to use our brand colors, like all these sort of formatted things people think they need for their brand? How do you convince them that, well, but this ad might perform better, and isn't that the ultimate goal?
Yeah, I used to work in an agency and I would get so before the social Savannah, I would get so frustrated when I would want to test UGC and different stuff and the brand's so strict. So at some point you kind of it is a battle that's hard to win, but always coming back with ad examples. I feel like people are always more comfortable if they see someone else do it. If you could be like, hey, look at all these interesting brands, look at all these interesting ads that our competitor is running. If you go to their ad library and you show that they're doing these type of concepts, you could be like, hey, you want to be as profitable or as big as our competitor? Like these are the type of ads that they're running. And this is how we can get to the next place. So validating with other brands are doing it is my go-to. But to be honest, I don't have this issue. Brands are coming to me because they want out of the box ideas. They're often yelling at me for the opposite. They're like, this is too boring. And I'm like, okay, we can, it'll be like ads that I showed today. And they're like, how can we get even crazier? And I'm like, oh gosh. And then I go crazier and then they're like, okay, not that crazy. So it's always that give and take. But to be honest, it's not a problem that I personally deal with, at least in the last few years, because everyone's always asking me to go more out of the box. Maybe that's a good point in itself. You can show them this presentation and be like, hey, all these top brands that are working with Savannah, here's the deck of them. Like they're all saying we got to go out of the box. Typical UGC is dead. So you can say that line and see how far it takes you.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think sometimes it's like the rule of marketing is like just keep hitting them with it and eventually they'll wear down, repetition is your friend sometimes.
Exactly.
Okay, this one I would love to hear your take on from Christiana. So she's talking about like summer trends in pop culture. The Love Island Mami Mamacita has been all over my Instagram feed. But I'm curious from an advertising perspective. Like, do you think these type of trends actually drive traffic? Or are they just good for like your followers? How do you at all incorporate like these sort of pop culture moments into ads?
Personally, I don't. I try to stay away from trends just because they're coming in and out so fast. They're not relevant to like a broad audience. So I always think, how can I make my ads relatable to as many people as possible? Like, for instance, I don't watch Love Island, so I'm not going to know any of the references if I was to make an ad about that. So I try to make it more evergreen. However, I think that's where your organic video strategy is so different than your paid social strategy. For your organic TikTok, organic Instagram, you should absolutely be taking advantage of relevant trends and things in pop culture. It's a completely different ballgame. You can't just take your ads and put them on your TikTok feed. And the opposite is the same. If you are creating TikToks and you try running it as ads, it's not going to be as good because you want it to be more evergreen, broad, mass appeal, problem solution versus trend focused.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like there's always a desire to hook on to trends, but you've spoken before too about how like you more want to look at the psychology and why that's compelling to people and then use that to sort of like create a longer lasting, more evergreen ad.
Definitely, especially since a lot of ads do have a long shelf life. Like I have clients where our same ad is the same top performer for months. I have even seen it where it's a year or longer, where the top performers remain the top performers. So I always try to think of it from my brand's perspective too. The clients I work with, they're trying to get the maximum ROI out of our relationship of paying me for the ads. So I want to get them an asset that's going to work hopefully for months and years to come, not just something that's like culturally relevant right now.
Okay, I think we're gonna end on this one. Olivia asked, do you think long form ads, so ads running 1 to 2 minutes long, are coming back? I would like to know what techniques you think work best for people aged 30 plus. So like you've mentioned, the age can sort of correlate to the ad length. So we can sort of tie these two questions together.
Definitely. It depends on the product too. If your product does take more education, explaining, social proof, you have a very good case to make a 1 to 2 minute ad. But a lot of the products on social media just aren't like that. It's more of like you see it, you want it, you say the top three things of why you should buy it, like coffee, makeup, protein powder. Like you don't really have to explain it. But when there is more education involved, and especially if it's a more expensive purchase, something that's high AOV, people are going to be wanting more proof. They're going to be considering it more, weighing the pros and cons, wanting to know the frequently asked questions or reasons why someone wouldn't buy, handling those objections. That's a really great case for making a longer ad, especially in your retargeting funnel. So maybe someone that's already been to your website, they saw your cute UGC ad that got them to stop. You used one of my thumb stopping hooks that you got them to the website. They didn't purchase because they're still considering it. That's when it's really valuable to hit them in your retargeting campaign when you're targeting your recent website visitors, your engagers. And that's when you can go into these longer videos explaining why they should purchase and handling any of those objections. And for the techniques that work best for 30 plus, I wouldn't say it's much different than like people that are 20 to 30. I would say maybe just a bit more length in the ads, making sure the creators in the ads are matching that demographic. So we have a lot of creators on my team that are over the age of 30. I would say The younger they are, you do have to make the ad shorter. Like when we're targeting 18-year-olds, those ads are 10 seconds, 15 seconds maximum. So you have to kind of think of it in terms of the attention span too. And that's where I have that rule of the age of your target demographic should be the length of your ad. I think that reigns so true. So a 30-year-old can watch a 30-second ad, no problem.
I have definitely sat and watched somebody put on makeup for like an hour. So,
oh man, there you
I
go.
don't know how old that says I am, but you've got my attention.
And I think it's all about variety too, right? Like I would never just work with a client and only do 30-second ads. I would say that's where I would start because that's my best chance of success. But that's how you reach more people. You're going to have the Melissas of the world who will watch an hour-long makeup tutorial. So I want to make sure that I have an ad. I'm not going to go an hour, but maybe a couple minutes of a makeup tutorial because that's going to hit a different demographic. So it's all about how can you reach as many people as possible. And by changing your creative, it helps broaden your targeting.
Oh gosh. Okay. We ended on such an interesting insight of, more to come. We're going to email out, like we kept saying, we'll email it. We'll follow up to all the registrants with an email. We'll include our last event with Savannah so you can get more ideas for apps and services. We'll give you the recording for this one. We'll give you a link to her newsletter, which will be working. Sorry, we crashed it again. We also, you can follow Savannah on Twitter. You can follow her on LinkedIn. She's always posting ad examples all throughout the year. So you'll be able to connect with Savannah, I promise.
Thank you so much. I appreciate every single one of you that showed up and in the chat. Like these events really make me so happy and I love connecting with all of you all. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and I hope to hear from you guys soon.
Thank you all. Bye. Thanks, Savannah.
Bye.
It's time to ship more winning creative with Motion's creative analytics platform that helps you scale winners into unicorns and helps you figure out where your ads might need just a little more help. Join over 2,100 teams shipping winning ads with Motion like Fiori, True Classic, Hexclad, and more. Get a free VIP tour today and you can see how Motion can help your creative strategists and your media buyers speak the same language.